Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week you'll receive insight, inspiration, and advice for living your purpose and making an impact as a conscious leader. You'll also hear inspirational stories of other conscious leaders who are living and leading from a place of mission, vision, and purpose. Get ready to be enlightened, empowered, and transformed with me, your host, Jennifer Spore. I'm excited to welcome as a guest to the show today, Lisa Tahir. She is from New Orleans, Louisiana, where she became a licensed clinical social worker in 2000. She expanded her practice to LA, California in 2014 and attained her second LCSW license in California in 2016. She is additionally certified in EMDR Level 1, Reiki Level 2, and as a thought coach through the Institute for Transformational Thinking in Los Angeles, California. Lisa is passionately committed to working with people to help them heal through all the senses of the body by utilizing intuition, therapy, energy healing, meditation, Reiki healing, crystal healing, nutrition, sound frequencies, yoga, exercise, podcasting, writing, and teaching. And as I'm saying this, it does take a village. Welcome, Lisa.
Jennifer, thank you so much for having me on Awake and on Purpose. I'm delighted to be with you and your listeners.
You're welcome, and thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm definitely excited to have this conversation today. Lisa, tell us more about what inspired you to get into the type of work that you're doing today.
For me, it was a really natural progression, Jennifer. It's the one thing in my life that felt like it just truly fell in place from when I was really young. My parents, in fact, found a note that I had scribbled at 5 years old saying that I want to be a psychiatrist. And though it was misspelled and kind of funny, that's been really a driving force in my life to help people understand themselves. I've always been and am a very curious person. And I feel like there's so much to our personal psychology that all of us really make sense when we understand the experiences that we've lived. And I just made it like my life's mission to help people understand themselves. And for me to be on that endless journey of self-discovery and awareness, and just how that really informs and guides and can direct our lives when we tap into what's truly important to and for us.
I believe that as well. And I really feel like, that's one of the main reasons why we're here, right? Is to be curious, to learn and to expand.
I agree. And I think it can be exciting to be on that journey and path, and having friends, that support us, and loved ones that support us and that we can support to evolve.
Yes, absolutely. And I also love that you mentioned that it can be an exciting experience, because often in many journeys of other people out there, it can feel like a struggle, right?
I think it can. It can feel like a lot of work. And certainly, as you know, there are moments that there is work involved, and we are efforting in some way, like I think even in this pandemic that we've been in this year, to find new ways of doing things that we love, finding new ways to work that initially usually feels like resistance, because, we might not want to change and have to do things differently. Yet once we start going down the path, I find that a momentum develops, and it does become easier and more fluid as we go along. Have you found that?
Yes, I agree. I've found that to be the case as well. And I mean, I always find it amazing how, from such a young age that most of us are programmed to fear change, which is actually, the opposite of the nature of our soul, Yeah. It perplexes me. I'm having a little problem with my words today here.
It's okay. It's cold where we both are.
Right. We're both chattering. Yes, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I'm in like blankets and a hat and it's a trip.
Right?
Yeah.
Lisa, you specialize in what you refer to as psychoastrology. That's very unique. I'd love for you to tell us more about your work in that area.
Sure, Jennifer. Psychoastrology is actually a very recent offering that I've come into. I've been a licensed therapist for over 20 years, and I love working with people. I'm doing remote sessions on Zoom and FaceTime, Skype, and by phone. And it's through the course of writing my book that has come out. It's called The Chiron Effect, Healing Our Core Wounds Through Astrology, Empathy, and Self-Forgiveness, that I found myself in this world of symbolic language that I feel like astrology articulates. And though I'm not an astrologer, I'm a psychotherapist, I learned the value of how astrology can give a backdrop to some of the themes happening in our lives. And it's through personal responsibility that we then can change the aspects of ourself, of our astrology, even, so to speak, that we want to change, that we're not fixed or dictated by certain patterns or what was in the sky, in the stars when we were born. And so I trademarked the word psychoastrology that's used in my book to really denote the intersection of our personal psychology with our natal or birth astrology as a way that people can see themselves and then make the desired changes that they want to make.
I share your beliefs there as well. I believe, that when we come into this world, we don't. Well, there are some people who would say we do get to choose who our family is when we come here. But what you're saying reminds me of our empowerment to shape our destiny, right? Where astrology is concerned, it's like, here's this helpful map for you, basically, that helps you to better understand, yourself and how you're wired. And then you can take that, by taking personal responsibility, right? And shape your destiny from that. I really love that.
It was so well said. And I agree that we are here to be creators of our lives.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of changes and creating our planet, pretty much everywhere, everyone has been going through a significant shift in consciousness.
Yeah.
And leadership isn't excluded from that. And it's been, painfully clear in a lot of ways that our old sort of patriarchal based leadership practices, right, haven't been working for quite some time, and certainly further changes need to be made in order to help us continue to establish a more sustainable, evolved way of living. And so that being said, I view that as conscious leadership, really just having a whole other level of self-awareness and authenticity. Has, it gets used a lot, right? But authenticity in its true sense, being someone who leads from a place of mission, vision, and purpose, and truly seeks to live in congruence with their beliefs and values and lead by example. That's just some of what I believe conscious leadership to be, and what we need as a collective to continue to move forward. What are your thoughts on conscious leadership and what it means to you?
I love this question and the topics you brought up, because when I think about conscious leadership, the first thing that comes to mind is for us to be aware that we are leaders of something, that we are leading through our example. We are leading by the way we live our lives. So for me, it's been important to become intentional about leading. Since I have this awareness that I am a leader, we as individuals leave a legacy each time we end a conversation, even each time we walk out of a room. We leave an impression, we leave a vibe, we leave an emotion with people of ourselves. So for me, it's been really helpful to be conscious of that and to lead by example. And through, being a really good listener, even like striving to listen to people and understand them and offer value. So for me, that has to do with being in the moment, really tuning in instead of thinking of what I am going to share to sound smart, for example, just to try to be there with someone and have that awareness that we are leaders in our own way and in our own sphere of influence.
Absolutely. I love that you brought up that, sphere of influence, because really we're all influencers.
Yes, yes. I've been thinking of that lately. Absolutely, Jennifer.
Yeah. And what significance do you believe that one's clarity of mission, vision, and purpose have in regard to embodying their highest self as a leader?
I think what's significant in that, the clarity around our mission, our vision, and purpose, is that since we are constantly evolving and changing and growing, to be aware of the nuances of how our mission, our vision, and our purpose change as well to reflect our changes. And so to me, that's really about, you mentioned authenticity and staying in tune with what we learn about ourselves and about life, how that can inform and even enrich our purpose and mission. I think we're our happiest when we do feel like we're plugged in, living our purpose, and how that every day, to one degree or another, we get to do that. And someday it might be the more mundane aspects, like doing taxes or paying bills, and still knowing that that's significant as well, whatever way it is that you're working on your mission and purpose, to try to see it as such. And for me, it's also about adding value. That's really important, like living that to try not to separate our personal and professional lives so much, if you are, to see ourselves as one congruent whole, and to really strive to treat, those at the grocery or that we deal with in those ways just as significantly as we do in business and in our professional lives. And really just, I think, in being congruent in that way, we're happier, and there's not such a divide that sometimes can cause unhappiness and such. I'm wondering if that's making sense.
It makes complete sense. Absolutely. And as I'm listening to you speak, I'm thinking, it's about living intentionally, right? It's like a lot of people view purpose as this thing that you have to find. And sometimes we do go on journeys of rediscovering ourselves, right? To find a renewed sense of purpose. But living with purpose is just as much about living intentionally and the embodiment of purpose, which is what I was hearing you say.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. There are, a lot of people out there, right, who are feeling called to step into their next level of impact as a leader, or, pursue potential changes that are on their heart, whether it's a career change or, creating their own business to birth something new into the world. What advice do you have for other conscious leaders who are feeling that call to make a bigger impact?
I love this question, Jennifer, because I so resonate with it in my own journey. And I would say to you in that place to step out. Definitely don't wait, don't pause, step out in any way that you can. Like, have the vision, dream it how you want it to be, how you feel, say, on that stage, or with doing whatever it is that you see like at your ultimate happiness, and step out in any way that you can to make that happen, be it through a blog or a podcast or a social media post, or just sharing with a friend, an awareness and insight that you might have had, that it's never too small to start. And it's through every baby step that we take, that things build and grow, and you don't have to know how it's going to happen. You just have to be willing to step through your fear into that unknown. And that's what courage is. When we feel fear and anxiety, yet we do it anyway. And for me, it's been when the most magical things start to happen, that it was really scary for me to start a podcast or go out to Los Angeles, write a book. And yet I felt equal excitement in proportion to like the fear and unknowing. And so that's when I think you're really living on the edge, and where great things are going to start happening and components coming together to support you. And also, it's important to really take good care of yourself when you're creating, when you're birthing new things, that a lot of your energy, your emotional energy, your psychic energy, like all of your personhood is going towards these things. So you might have to redistribute your responsibilities. You might have to shift how much you do certain things and pull back from certain areas, and be mindful of that. So you're not spreading yourself too thin, which very well may happen from time to time, yet come back to how you really have to take care of yourself first, and then give from the overflow as much as possible, because otherwise you can end up feeling really depleted, edgy and agitated, and not being, not having the joyful experience of your creation. And I wonder if you found that, because I think we all have, learning how to manage all the areas of our lives.
There are so many wisdom nuggets that you dropped that I can't keep track of all of them right now.
Thank you.
I'm like, which one do I want to respond to first? First, I just want to, so much goodness here. So what I want to say first is that, fear and excitement feel very similar in the body.
Yes.
Yeah. And so this is where every one of us is empowered to choose our perspective, to decide how things are going to play out for us. So rather than fear, we can choose excitement. We can choose to perceive whatever we're feeling as excitement. And what you said about balance is so key as well. And I feel like, maintaining that part of our ability to maintain balance for ourselves, that there's value in stepping back to look at how we're wired, right? Something that I know a lot of people can get distracted by is looking for that external validation of what actions they should take, right, to achieve balance, which, yes, there's always value in seeking out a coach for support, or even in certain books or information that's out there. But everybody is unique, and I feel like you have to take, whatever information you're given and take that in, but then really take away the pieces that can apply to you. I just see so many people out there and trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think sometimes that's even a necessary part of the process. When we're, striking out to do something new, it's okay to put your square peg in the round hole, because you're quickly going to see, I need to do something different.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think, let that be. Allow that.
Yes, and just viewing those experiences as learning experiences, which is something else, another point in regard to our ability to choose our perspective, right? Many of us have been conditioned from living in a society where success has to happen overnight, and it's
right.
Really just as much about the journey, and those failures aren't failures. You're just, as I think you said, experimenting and learning, and that's all a good thing.
It is a good thing. And to go back to something you said a few moments ago, Jennifer, which is really important, that fear and excitement feel the same physiologically. That's so accurate. And there's even 2 words to describe that phenomenon, that when we're feeling fear, it's distress, distress. And when we're feeling excitement, that's actually eustress, eustress. And in the body, the same chemicals are released in the brain, yet they are organized around two different experiences. So I think it's helpful to know and differentiate when you're feeling distressed and when you're feeling eustressed, which is excitement, around like the uncertainty and such around exciting things. So I think that's just kind of like a fun fact to note.
Yeah, no, that is really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Lisa, if someone's interested in establishing a deeper connection with you, where is the best place for them to reach out to connect?
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love to hear from your listeners. The easiest way is through my website, which is nolatherapy.com. It stands for New Orleans, Los Angeles Therapy.com. And you can Google me, Lisa Tahir, Tahir. I would love to connect with people doing remote sessions. I have an online class they can access having to do with empowerment, empowerment, which is sourcing from within ourselves and bringing forth our unique gifts and emanations of what is true and important for us. And then my book, The Chiron Effect. You can get my book at major retailers, and I would just love to connect with your audience and offer value in any way that I can.
So much goodness, Lisa, and empowerment. I love that. That's the first time I had heard that term. I love that. Lisa,
thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me for this conversation today. I really, really enjoyed our connection.
I appreciate being on your show today, Jennifer. Thank you to you and your listeners.
Thank you for listening to the Awaken on Purpose podcast. Please visit me and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or at awakenonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can live your purpose and make an impact as a conscious leader, visit me at jenniferspore.com, and while you're there, be sure to join my email list for exclusive offers and a weekly dose of inspiration.